Go away. Don't come over here. Karen, call the cops. Call the... It's all these kids in here. Call the cops, you dumb bitch. He coming around the window. Go that way, Cameron. Yeah, go away, bye. Go away, bye. Yep, bye. Bye. Keon out here.
On the night of October 4th, 2025, a young woman named Kada Scott, just 23 years old, vanished without a trace in Philadelphia. She had been living her life like any other 23-year-old, working hard and dreaming of a bright future. But what happened that night, the moments leading up to her disappearance, and the events that followed, would unravel a chilling mystery that no one could have predicted. If you're fascinated by true crime stories that will make you question everything you think you know, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated on all our new videos. This is Crime Lab Report, and today we dive deep into the disappearance of Kada Scott. Kada Scott was born and raised in Philadelphia, a young woman with a bright personality and a promising future. She had recently worked at an assisted living facility, the Terrace at Chestnut Hill, where she'd been a trusted employee. But behind her calm and caring nature, a life of harassment and fear was quietly building. Just days before her disappearance, Kata had reported receiving troubling phone calls that made her uneasy, though she had never mentioned who was behind the threats. But little did she know, these ominous warnings were just the beginning of a nightmare she could not escape. It was a Thursday evening when Kata ended her overnight shift at the facility. She walked out around 10:45 p.m., her phone in her hand, her mind likely focused on getting home. She was last seen leaving her workplace, her car parked in the lot just as any other night. But when she failed to check in the next morning, her friends and family immediately feared something was terribly wrong. Her phone had gone silent, her social media activity had ceased, and most notably, her car remained parked in the lot, but there were no signs of Kata. It wasn't long before the police became involved. But as investigators combed to the area, the first big clue came when they found Kata's car, a metallic gold Toyota Camry, in the East Falls section of Philadelphia, linked to Keon King. King, a 21-year-old man with a murky past, had been the last person known to communicate with Kata. According to authorities, King had been in contact with her shortly before she vanished, but his messages had grown increasingly strange. Police now believed that he may have known more than he was letting on. The investigation took a darker turn when detectives found that King had a history of violence. Just months earlier, he had faced charges for kidnapping and strangulation, but those charges had been dropped after the alleged victim failed to appear in court. Now, as the police pieced together the timeline of Kata's disappearance, they began to suspect that Keon King wasn't just a witness to her disappearance. He might be the one who had caused it. What makes someone capable of hurting someone else they claim to care about? How far can trust be pushed before it shatters into something unrecognizable? Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll dive into the investigation process, what the police uncovered, and how this chilling case began to unfold.
All right. Good morning. Just want to give you an update on the disappearance of Kada Scott, which occurred on October 4th, 11 days ago. Going to provide you an update in terms of an individual that is currently in custody for his involvement in the disappearance of Ms. Scott. However, still a lot of work needs to be done. And so just want to make that very clear as to why we are here and the information that you will receive. Essentially letting you know how we have gotten here, but more so the public's help that we need right now. The public has been very, very helpful thus far in providing a lot of information, which the investigators have been able to track down a lot of the leads, which has helped us get to this point here. But as I said, a lot of work still to be done. The number one priority is locating Ms. Scott. I just want to make that very clear. And so while we are at this stage of this now, that's our priority. And so we will ask for your help in locating this vehicle, which you'll get a little more information. It's a 1999 metallic gold Toyota Camry with a Pennsylvania tag of MSX0797. But we need to know where this car is. we need to find this car. Making this very clear, it's not to just focus on the northwest section of the city of Philadelphia. This car has traversed through the entire city. And so I want that to be clear, that every neighborhood, every person listening to this, whether you're in North Philly, South Philly, Southwest, Northwest, please open your eyes and see if you locate this car, or if you have seen this car, please contact us and give us that information. The second part of this is the individual that Deputy Commissioner Venor will provide his information very shortly. Want folks to understand this person has a little bit of a pattern of this type of history. And so we want to encourage anyone that may have been involved with this individual, anyone that may know this individual, please, at this point in time, make that phone call. Feel comfortable enough to call us and let us know if you have any information regarding this person, regarding any interaction you've had with this individual. If you have been a victim of any crime regarding this individual, I want you to understand now is the time to make that phone call and let us know. Give us that information so that we can continue on. Again, just want to make it very clear that a lot of work has been done, starting off with Northwest Detective Division, and then this case shifting over to homicide, making it very clear that the case was shifted to homicide because we have the most experienced investigators in our homicide unit. They have the most experience dealing with all types of investigations. They also have the most resources available to them. And so we have the hopes that we are still treating this as if Ms. Scott is still alive, and that's why we want the public's help in trying to locate every single piece of this. But I just wanted to make that clear because I know there's been some reports once it shifted over to homicide, folks not understanding the why. And so that's the reason behind that. At this point in time, again, appreciate the help that we've gotten. I want to turn everything over to Deputy Venor to go into more details about the individual that has been taken into custody and some other pertinent facts of the investigation.
All right, good morning. Just to reiterate what the Commissioner Stanford said, we've been investigating this since Saturday, October 4th in the evening, the last time Kada Scott was seen at her place of work up in Mount Airy area. Our evidence that we followed, and we did involve a lot of investigators on this, led us to several places, that digital evidence, and as everybody knows, we searched a very large area up in the Aubrey Arboretum, and we came up really with negative results. After that time, we asked the Homicide Division, the FBI Violent Crime Task Force to enter into the investigation to assist. All right, and we continued our search trying to track Ms. Scott's whereabouts along with anybody she may have encountered during that time. Our evidence is pretty clear that she was in communication with an individual. That individual appears to meet her very shortly after she leaves her place of work. And very shortly after that, she disappears off of the footprint. We have a lot of digital evidence, video and other, which provides us with this individual by the name of Keon, K-E-O-N, King, K-I-N-G. We believe this individual, and through our evidence, we were able to charge this individual. The district attorney was able to charge the individual. You'll hear from them shortly with kidnapping at this point. It's very important to know we're not done our investigation. We need to find Ms. Scott, figure out where she is, or what may have happened to her to cause her to completely disappear from all her items, her phone, her Instagram, social media sites, and everywhere else, work. She left her car at that location. So it's very important that this individual, who does have prior history of being arrested, especially for this very same thing, this year was charged with kidnapping another female acquaintance. That case was dismissed from court, and I'll explain it. It's going to be refiled now as we're going to move forward to attempt. So he's being really charged with 2 cases today of kidnapping, and in that case it involves assaults that occurred during the kidnapping. So this is a pattern of behavior. That vehicle that you've seen, the Toyota Camry, was his vehicle. All right, that vehicle's not recovered. All right, some of the stuff he did as we attempted to find him was he got rid of things like the car, the phone. We're not able to find things that he was using. He had an address in Southwest Philadelphia. He had other addresses that it looks like he's not using anymore. So he attempted to elude us for some time. He did come in last night. He's here being processed, but there's a lot of questions we still have. So we're asking the public's help. We need it more than ever. This car, you'll see a better picture of it. We sent it to you digitally. It's a gold-colored Camry, 1999. It has heavy front-end damage on the left front bumper. All right, that's being described that way several times. We know it's been in the Mount Airy area. We have photos of it in Center City. We have pictures of it in Grace Ferry area and in Southwest Philadelphia. So it's possible that it could be anywhere. It could be outside the city. So if somebody sees this, thinks they know where this car is, it's very possible it doesn't have this tag on it anymore. So if you see a car like it, we're urging you to call police, have it investigated. Any information on this, you can call our tip line, 215-686-TIPS, 8477, or the Homicide Division directly, and give that information. All right, I'm going to turn things over to ADA Teslowski, who could speak a little more about the charges and potentially other charges that he's facing.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Teslowski. I am an assistant district attorney in the homicide unit. I became involved in this investigation last week when the investigation was turned over to the homicide unit. So I became the assigned ADA when detectives Rob Daly and Joe Kremen took over the case. The first thing I want to say is that PPD and our federal partners and Detective Daly and Detective Kremen have done an amazing job to get us where we are. Today I'm joined by Tracy Washington from our Victim Services Unit and also Bob Listenby, the first assistant of our office. What I can confirm is that our office, as of the early morning hours into the early morning hours this morning, did charge this individual with charges, the lead charge being kidnapping. You know, as we've said multiple times at this point, we do not know where Ms. Scott is. So at this point, our lead charge is kidnapping. What we're able to confirm and what I was able to charge based on is what we know, which has already been said, which is that this person, Mr. King, is the last person we believe to be in contact with her, and that he was in contact with her when she went offline, meaning her phone, everything. So at this point, the investigation has led us here, and we're able to charge him with kidnapping, recklessly endangering another person, use of a communication facility, meaning his phone. We were able to track his phone and communications on his phone. He's being processed as we speak. When I picked up this investigation, one of the things that our office also learned was that he did have a previous case. It was a 2025 case for very similar conduct, strangulation and kidnapping. That case had been withdrawn by our office based on the witness failing to appear at court. I pulled that file, and after an extensive review of it, our office made the decision to refile those charges. We believe there is enough to proceed, and we also do believe that this is a pattern for this person. That refile was filed yesterday. He was served on that as a part of our conversation with him. Him being here and being processed on the new charges, he was served for that, so he will also be facing a preliminary hearing on that previous kidnapping case as well. So at this point, he will have 2 open kidnapping cases that will face preliminary hearings in the coming months.
I don't know if there's any questions.
For the district attorney's office, how many times does the defendant, does the case appear before a judge that it's then withdrawn? I mean, how many times does this matter come before a judge and the decision then gets made as withdrawn?
It depends. In this specific case, what I could tell you is that after the first listing, when the victim failed to appear, the case was marked what I'll call must be tried, which is a little bit of a court lingo, but basically saying if it's not tried by the next listing, it'll either be dismissed or withdrawn. It was marked that way after the first listing when she didn't appear in court, and then at the second listing when, again, we didn't have the witness or the victim in court, it was at that point withdrawn given the previous marking.
Do you have a state birth?
I do not, but I'm sure we can get that.
Yeah, okay.
The video of the vehicle in the area of the Arboretum, do we go back to the vehicle now?
This vehicle has been traveling all over the city. So we do believe this video was involved in what we're talking about, and we have it all over the city in concert with how he's moving as well. We have it. Yep, we have the date of birth for you. It is 5/6/2004. So 5/6, yeah, 5/6/2004.
Do you guys know how the two knew each other, how long it had been, and is this the specific individual that Kata had expressed concern about, specifically harassment?
I'm not willing to comment on that at this time. That's still very much being investigated in terms of their relationship and how long they knew each other.
So the significance of the car right now, the urgency, if you will, can you address why you believe people need to find this car?
Sure, I can certainly comment on that, or if you want to. I mean, at this point, we believe he is connected to this vehicle. We also believe she may have been in that vehicle.
As far as the other case, the kidnapping case,
Yes.
can you just explain some of the circumstances surrounding that case, brief as you would be?
Sure. That case is an individual that was known to him, a domestic in nature. And what I can say is the allegations in that case are that he kidnapped a woman in front of her house, threw her in her car, assaulted her, and then eventually let her out of the car. There is some video evidence, I believe, that'll be played at the preliminary hearing, but that was domestic in nature.
And do you have a time or about when that happened?
It was this year in 2025. The case was withdrawn in May, so it predates that by a little bit.
What was the last location this car was seen?
I don't know if we have exactly the last location, but what I can say is through our investigation, it was tracked all over the city, in multiple areas of the city in multiple different time periods throughout, the entire length of this investigation.
When police were at an address in Southwest Philadelphia last Thursday night, was that one of his addresses?
It was one of the addresses connected to this investigation.
Do you believe anyone else might be helping King or possibly be driving that vehicle for him?
In terms of other people being involved, I don't have comment on that at this time. It's still very much being investigated. There have been several phone numbers involved that we've been tracking, but all roads at this point lead to him, and so that's what we're hoping leads us to her.
After she arrives at work at 10 o'clock, how big is the time window when she actually remains at work before leaving?
Yeah.
She's not there long at all. She gets there maybe just before 10, and right after, she's out maybe 20 minutes. That's what I'm told.
Are they communicating at this point?
We believe they are, yeah.
Do you know how the two knew each other?
I don't. I don't know their relationship. Obviously, they had a connection. They're going back and forth, and they've known each other for a short time, but I don't know how long.
As the investigation into Kada Scott's disappearance deepened, the Philadelphia police quickly realized that this was not going to be a typical missing persons case. Their focus zeroed in on Keon King, the man who had been in contact with Kata in the hours leading up to her vanishing. King had already raised suspicion, but when police began to investigate his movements, things became even more troubling. Detectives learned that King's car had been seen near the same area where Kata's car was parked. As more evidence was uncovered, the case began to spiral toward what no one could have predicted. King had a more sinister connection to Kata than anyone had initially imagined. He was not just a person of interest. He had become the prime suspect. So, how did police start to unravel this web of suspicion? It wasn't long before they discovered that King had attempted to hide vital evidence. His car, which had been heavily tinted, was found in the East Falls neighborhood with front-end damage. The car was clearly linked to the case, and once they had it towed, investigators began searching for anything that could give them a clue about what had happened to Kata. Inside the car, they found traces of evidence, though the most significant discovery was yet to come. Meanwhile, Kata's family was frantic. They knew something wasn't right. Her friends, co-workers, and loved ones couldn't believe that the bright, caring young woman they all knew would just vanish without a trace. The situation was growing more desperate by the hour, and the emotional toll on her family was undeniable. As the search intensified, the police began to connect more dots, leading them to a breakthrough in the investigation. Detectives spent hours reviewing surveillance footage from the area around the assisted living facility where Kata worked. In one chilling clip, they spotted a figure approaching her car late at night. The footage was grainy, but it was clear that this person was not someone Kata was familiar with. The timeline was tight. Kata had been seen leaving work at 10:45 p.m., and by 11:30 p.m., her car was still parked in the lot, but she was nowhere to be found. Then came the moment that brought the investigation to a turning point. Investigators discovered that King had been using social media to send cryptic messages to friends and acquaintances, trying to cover his tracks. The police then honed in on him. They had their first major break when they discovered a string of messages from King urging people to stay silent about his whereabouts. His attempts to manipulate the situation were becoming more apparent. At the same time, authorities learned an abandoned school building near the Aubrey Arboretum in Germantown. After receiving an anonymous tip, they searched the area. There, they found items belonging to Kata, a personal ID and a phone case, linked to the missing woman. It wasn't enough to confirm her whereabouts, but it was proof that something sinister had happened in the area. The discovery set the investigation on fire, and it became clear that King was involved in her disappearance. With every piece of evidence coming to light, the puzzle was slowly coming together. The police now had the proof they needed to arrest Keon King for kidnapping. They moved quickly, bringing him in for questioning. What came next was crucial in piecing together exactly what happened to Kata. King remained tight-lipped during his interrogation, but the police were relentless. They knew they had him cornered. Now, as the investigation continued, a horrifying truth began to unfold. But will it be enough to bring justice for Kata? Stick around, because we'll be diving into the resolution of this case soon. What could drive someone to hurt another so deeply? Was it something personal, or was it calculated from the very beginning? And how do you find closure in a case where the truth seems just beyond your reach? Stay tuned as we break down the rest of the story, including what happened after the arrest and what the legal proceedings revealed. As the interrogation of Keon King intensified, authorities began to uncover the chilling truth. The once bright and promising 23-year-old Kada Scott had become the victim of a twisted scheme, and Keon King, the man who had been in contact with her hours before she vanished, was at the center of it all. While King remained tight-lipped about his involvement, the evidence against him was undeniable. Police had gathered enough to charge King with kidnapping, recklessly endangering another person, and use of a communication facility. They also discovered that King had attempted to cover his tracks by deleting messages and manipulating others to keep quiet. However, the cracks of the story were starting to show, and it became clear that King's actions were far from innocent. Kata's family, devastated by the discovery, held on to a sliver of hope that she might still be found. The pain of not knowing what happened to their daughter, sister, and friend was unbearable. Yet, with each passing day, the reality of the situation began to set in. They knew the chances of finding her alive were slim, but they never gave up the fight for justice. The police worked tirelessly, reviewing every lead and sifting through the mounting evidence. King's arrest was a significant moment, but it wasn't the end of the story. The police weren't done yet. They continued their search for Kata's whereabouts, combing through areas linked to King's movements. The abandoned school near the Aubrey Arboretum remained an area of focus, and the discovery of her personal items there sent shiver to everyone involved in the case. But despite their best efforts, Kata's body was never found, leaving her family with a sense of dread that would never go away. In the courtroom, Keon King faced the full weight of the charges against him. As the legal proceedings unfolded, the public and Kata's family waited anxiously for justice to be served. King's past, filled with disturbing behavior and violent tendencies, painted a clear picture of the kind of person he was. Yet, even with the damning evidence stacked against him, King's defense team tried to argue for his innocence. Though it seemed the case against him was airtight, the trial was an emotional roller coaster for everyone involved. Kata's family sat in the courtroom every day, their hearts heavy with grief. The evidence was there, but the legal system, with its long processes and challenges, made it feel like justice was a slow and uncertain journey. It wasn't until months later that the verdict finally came through. Keon King was convicted of kidnapping and related charges. The sentencing, however, wasn't as clear-cut. He faced a lengthy prison term, but the case left the community shaken to its core. This case has had a profound impact on Philadelphia and beyond. It's a reminder of how quickly someone's life can be turned upside down, and how even the people closest to us can be capable of unimaginable actions. For Kata's family, while they found some sense of justice, the pain of her loss will never go away. The emotional scars will remain long after the legal battles are over. So, What happens when the justice system finally catches up with someone like King? Does it truly bring peace to those left behind? Can we ever truly heal after losing someone in such a horrific way? These questions linger long after the case has been closed. If you've been moved by this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. This is Crime Lab Report, and we'll see you next time with more true crime stories that'll make you think twice about the world around you.